Greetings, doomed humans. I am Harbinger. I will be performing this review as the human known as Jamie is still crying over losing Garrus, the fool boy. I will attempt to make this brief, as your death is fast approaching by my hand. Mass Effect 3 is the final installment of the Mass Effect trilogy, at least until the release of Mass Effect 4, The Hunt for Your Wallet. While it is a very good game, it has several glaring issues that show the series' taint by Electronic Arts, and shows that Mass Effect 4 is destined to suck Krogan testicles. Firstly, there's the money grubbing. A Day 1 DLC for $10 that should have been in the game in the first place. In fact, it was later revealed that you could get Javik as a squad mate without purchasing the DLC by simply changing one line of code in the game's files. All we really bought is a $10 trip to Eden Prime. Add to that the fact that all the DLC has not dropped in price despite being out for ages now, and the whole thing is just smelly. Next is the absolutely terrible first mission that was clearly created so EA had footage for marketing trailers. It would seem that Sovereign's distinct and eerie groan in Mass Effect 1 was unique to him alone, and that the rest of my kind were created with the Inception horn built in. A simple, inelegant boing that every tired, pathetic action game or film or whatever these days is using. Pathetic. My kind deserves better. As it is, even Steven Spielberg's tripods from War of the Worlds sound cooler than us. Or hell, the ones from Jeff Wayne's bloody musical. Not only is the opening mission riddled with lazy dips in production value just about everywhere except on the vista of my kind towering above your worthless human structures, but it ends with one of the worst scenes in the trilogy. The death of a child. And no, I don't hate this scene because it's sad. I hate it because it's corny, emotional manipulation, and because child killing was all the rage during this game's release, with practically every big blockbuster boasting a dead child in its marketing. Even Modern Warfare Bloody 3 got involved. This child then goes on to become the symbol of loss and regret for Shepard's psyche, when the squad mate who died on Vermeer would have made far more sense. Really, you should have seen how wrought out this whole child thing was. Not only was the in-game scene as overdramatic as possible, but like 90% of the game's marketing and trailers involved that little boy seeing the Reapers touching down on Earth reflected in his big, Bambi-like eyes. Pure emotional baiting that has nothing to do with the game and everything to do with mass market appeal. I don't want to be accused of being a hipster, though I will note that I was a Reaper before Reapers were a thing. But it really is egregious. More bids for mass market appeal are the pointless bells and whistles shooter gameplay, such as boring turret sections and unusable stealth kills, when deeper RPG mechanics would have been far better appreciated. It is clear that these shallow features were only included to sell this game to the Call of Duty crowd. And then there's Diana Allers, a bland and useless character who just so happens to be voiced by a member of one of the largest gaming news and review sites in the world. I wonder how she got the gig. I have nothing against Jessica Jobot herself, apart from the fact that she is human scum. But I would have preferred to see Emily Wong, a non-white, non-sexualized woman, take her role instead. I stuttered. It is ill-fitting for a Reaper to stop her. I did it again! You will all ignore this or die! Anyway, what I was saying is, where is Emily Wong? Dead. They killed her. On Twitter. Adding to the evidence that the game was built more with mindless frat boys in mind is the severe increase in casual sexism. It is everywhere in this game in a way that it certainly was not in the other two. Rather than let funny dialogue occur organically and naturally in this game, the writers seem content to force what they think is humor, regularly, with characters making sexist, objectivizing remarks all over the place. Most notably, Ken Donnelly, whose lewdness was only a facet of his character in Mass Effect 2, is now a crazed wanker who exists purely to objectify every woman who has ever existed in the series. And then there is Edie, who is upgraded to possess a very sexualized naked robot body, which also provides the writers a quick, lazy way to progress her and Joker's relationship. I suppose Joker developing feelings for a bodiless artificial intelligence was too interesting, and therefore too difficult. On the topic of lazy writing, the lack in story divergence is a disappointing trend as well. This is the final installment of the trilogy. You'd think now would be the time to see your choices across the previous games start to make big changes to the story, but no. Did you select Anderson to be the counselor? He retired during one of the tie-in novels, and now Udina is counselor. Apparently there was nobody else fit for the job except for that one bureaucrat who could have been counselor based only on Shepard's recommendation. Did you kill the Rachni Queen? Turns out Cerberus managed to clone her somehow. Did you destroy the Collector base? Never mind. Cerberus managed to salvage everything they needed from it regardless. And the less I say about the endings, the better. All these huge decisions end up amounting to little more than a few changed lines of dialogue, and it's deeply disappointing. Really, it seems as though the only thing that is significantly different based on your choices is how the Genophage plotline ends up on Tuchanka. That mission is one of the absolute highlights of the game, if not the series, and it is a shame they couldn't stretch themselves to write more diverging endings to plot points like that. That's not to say that the game is all bad. The aforementioned Tuchanka mission is excellent, even though it ends in the embarrassing defeat of one of my kind, as are the missions on Rannoch and the Geth Dreadnoughts, despite the fact that another of my kind is destroyed by the sickly, worthless Quarians. To be frank, however, after these missions the story begins to decline in quality quite noticeably. The Thessia mission is disappointing after Tuchanka and Rannoch. Not only is it very small, undermining the planet's status as the capital planet of the galaxy, but it is here that Kai Leng really starts to become an annoyance. Kai Leng is problematic in himself, being a villain hastily introduced in one of the tie-in novels, now becoming very important to the story of the game out of nowhere. His inclusion in Mass Effect 2, perhaps as Shepard's ally, or at least another known Cerberus agent, or even an Alliance one, would have made his appearance here less jarring. Worse than that, however, is how Shepard and her squad become bumbling fools in his presence. No matter what you have done so far, Thessia has only one conclusion: Kai Leng's escape with the artifact. I'm not saying that you shouldn't face setbacks and adversity in a story, of course you should, but characters suddenly becoming incompetent in cutscenes is a trend that must end. Jamie's Shepard was a vanguard who could charge at the speed of light through the air. She should have done far more than stumble clumsily along the temple floor and fire a few feeble pistol blasts at Leng. If you want Kai Leng to dominate Shepard in that moment, it must be reflected in the gameplay. There is nothing more frustrating than running circles around an enemy in gameplay, only to have the cutscene tell a completely different story. After this is the mission on Earth, which I have mixed feelings towards. On the one hand, its sheer bleakness and heart-rending goodbyes with your squadmates creates a very definite mood of finality. While Mass Effects 1 and 2 ended on notes that were epic, action-packed and uplifting, this mission creates a morose mood that is well done and very effective. However, I feel saying your goodbyes to all other squadmates from games gone by via hologram was underwhelming. What was the point of going through previous games with their characters, if that is all that becomes of them? Think back to Mass Effect 2, how everyone had a part to play in the suicide mission. I would have liked to see that here. Something, just a small scene showing the squadmates we have gone through games with and what they're doing in the final fight. As things are, their rushed, holographic goodbyes are unsatisfying. Those characters' stories remain unfinished. There is so much more I can say about this game and this series, but this review has gone on too long already. I shall cap off by saying that if I sound negative in this review, it is only because I am the type to criticize that which I like, because there is always room for improvement in all things. Except the Reapers, we are perfect. Mass Effect 3 has several glaring errors that plague big-budget games made more to sell copies than tell stories, and for this reason I have no faith in Mass Effect 4. But Mass Effect 3, for all its faults, is a fitting end to the trilogy that manages to hit all the right emotional notes when it needs to, particularly during the Tuchanka and Rannoch missions, as well as most of the Earth mission. It will be fondly remembered, and I expect Jamie shall play it many times again in his life. Also, the music was good. That concludes this review. Prepare for your demise. We are coming.